Lions roaring in the morning sun, searching for a longer day. People feeling like the light has just come. We must never stop the way. Hey guys, good morning, or what is it, evening. So good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're on this beautiful world. I just came across this company, AMGA, yeah, American Medical Group Association. I thought it was American Medical Group of America, but I was wrong. I need to find more information about this company, because outside they're talking about together to go type 2 diabetes, and I want to know what are they doing to cure it. I just opened this up and look what I found. Cinnamon bar. What does it say in the back? Contains soy and milk. How are you supposed to cure type 2 diabetes with giving people milk? Come on now, do your homework.
So I just wanted to relate one story of a patient that was on a very low-calorie diet.
Birds chirping and I hear my name, grasping into life. Life is happy but it's so insane. We must merely make a strive
With meal replacement. She had been having a difficult time with blood sugar control and maintenance as a diabetic. Fortunately, just 2 weeks after starting our program, she began to see a reduction in her blood glucose levels, or her sugar levels. At 9 weeks within our program, she was able to remove her insulin pump entirely. This is a big deal.
This is a condition where there's too much sugar in the blood. The sugar is glucose. And glucose is not poison. It's supposed to be in your bloodstream on the way to get into the cells of the body where it acts as fuel. Glucose powers your muscles. Glucose powers your brain. You know, if a person is going to run a marathon, they carbo load. You know what I'm talking about? They eat lots of rice and lots of bread and lots of pasta. They're trying to get glucose into the system. It goes into the muscle cells, it goes into the liver, and it's stored. So glucose is a good thing. The problem is in diabetes, it's not going into the cells, it's staying outside. It's circulating around in the blood over and over and over again. And it can damage the blood vessels, the tiny blood vessels at the back of your eye. They're attacked by high levels of glucose. The heart is attacked by glucose. The kidneys have blood vessels coursing through them, and they're attacked by this high blood sugar. And you have nerves going all the way down to your feet, and those nerves are nourished by blood vessels, and they're attacked also. So diabetes is a leading cause of loss of vision, loss of kidney function, abnormal nerve symptoms and nerve pain, and you have a 65 or 75% chance of having a fatal heart attack. That's the bad news. The good news is that there's a lot that we can do about this, and I'll share that with you. Now, so many people imagine if there's too much sugar in the blood, don't eat sugar. And don't eat anything that turns to sugar, like white bread or starches. You know what I'm talking about. This is typical diabetes advice, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if you look around the world, those populations that eat the most starch, I'm talking about rural Japan. A lesson from Japan. The dietary staple in Japan is not beef. It's really rice, right? Rice and noodles and that kind of thing. And if you look at the foods that they eat, they're not at all similar to what I grew up on, and maybe not similar to what you grew up on either. But if you look at diabetes prevalence in Japan, in adults over the age of 40, prior to 1980, very rare, 1 to 5% of the population. Not a lot of diabetes. But what happened to Japan around 1980? The westernization started to occur, and these are not traditional Japanese foods, are they? but they became very popular. And so the fat content of the Japanese diet, can you see this? The fat content was going up. It's not as bad as ours, but it's rising year by year. And carbohydrates started to fall. In other words, they're eating less rice, less noodles, less vegetables, more meat, more dairy products. And if you look at the Japanese waistline, the top line here is overweight. There's more and more of that. The bottom line is obesity. Not a lot of obesity yet, but you get the idea. The population is getting heavier, eating fattier diets. And then if you look at diabetes prevalence, prior to 1980, 1 to 5%. 1990, 11 to 12%. So this shows us really two things. The first thing is the common wisdom that carbohydrate causes diabetes is not right, is it? Because if so, they would have had a lot of it before and none now. It's the opposite. When they were eating starchy foods, they did fine. When the Western diet came in, then they're in trouble. The second thing this shows us is the role of genetics is smaller than we might have thought. And this is sort of like the Pima experience, that the genes are there, but the genes for diabetes are not like the genes for the color of your eyes or the color of your hair. Those are dictators. If they say blue eyes, brown hair, you can't argue. But the genes for diabetes are more like committees. They make suggestions, and you can argue with them. You can say, I don't think I want to have diabetes. And those genes sit like seeds on the desert floor. Nothing happens unless it rains, and then they sprout. So if you're not following the diet that makes them come alive, you may never get the diabetes.
They taste good, they're nutritious. I use them myself. Multiple times during the week I use them. And I use them with my patients that are on the very low-calorie diets. Patients that are on the very low-calorie diets. And I feel safe using them with my patients. My patients like them, and we've had really very good results with their products.
It is not natural for humans to drink cow's milk. Cow's milk is a high-fat fluid designed to turn a 65-pound baby calf into a 400-pound cow. Cow's milk contains animal protein, which has been proven by people like Dr. T. Colin Campbell to promote cancer growth. Animal protein is far too acidic for the human body. In order to neutralize this acidity, the body leaches calcium and phosphorus from the bones. People have been misled to believe that milk gives us strong bones, yet the countries with the highest dairy consumptions all have the highest rates of osteoporosis. Dairy products like cheese and butter are high in fat, saturated fat and cholesterol, and are very low in vital vitamins and minerals. Diets high in fat, especially saturated fat, can increase the risk of heart disease and can cause other serious health problems like diabetes. Because cows suffer from a number of infections like mastitis, dairy contains considerable quantities of pus. A glass of milk will contain around 90 to 135 million somatic pus cells. Dairy also contains bovine growth hormones, which have been linked to obesity and cancer. It also contains antibiotics and contaminants like blood and feces. Cow's milk also contains casomorphins, a form of morphine which is highly addictive. Fortunately, there are many non-dairy alternatives, and a whole foods plant-based diet can provide all the essential nutrients for long-term health.
A treatment for the disease of obesity, which is a chronic illness, and the meal replacements in my office function as the medication for treating the obesity. So I look at the meal replacements very similarly to the way I look at blood pressure medicines or diabetes medications. It's a treatment for a chronic disease.
Before I answer them, you must realize that the things I probably will answer will be different than what people believe.
Okay.
But consider what
so
people...
why should I be surprised?
Well, the thing is... Yeah, I know that. The thing is that what people believe has gotten them in the shape that they're in right now, where, you know, 2/3 of the population is overweight. Over the age of 30, almost everybody is on medication, has an elevated risk factor for disease, like heart disease or stroke, or they're just downright sick over the age of 30. So something's wrong. So when you hear my answer, you go, oh, I know that's different. Yeah. Everybody else says it's different. Well, sure they do. But look at what's happened with what they say.
First question, diabetes.
What about diabetes?
Well, they just want to know what causes it, how can I treat it?
Diabetes.
How can I treat it?
You know, there's two types of diabetes. One is type 1, which is where the pancreas is destroyed. And what the scientific research says, and what I wholeheartedly believe, is the initiator of that destruction, it's an autoimmune disease, is cow's milk protein. In other words, the protein that's in your skim milk and your cheese. That's what initiates it. And of course, we feed little babies, human babies, cow's milk, and that's how they initially get exposed. Type 2 diabetes is due to overnutrition. Too much fat, too much sugar, and so on. Completely different diseases, just they have in common that the sugar goes up.
That's why so many people fail on diets, is they get hungry. That's why you need to find a diet where you can eat as much as you want of food that not only causes you to be trim, but also healthy, which is the kind of diet that we're teaching you. In the short term, the problem is these kinds of diets are going to result in constipation, aggravation of hemorrhoids, fatigue, and if they're the more severe kind and you stay on them for a little bit longer, what will happen is you'll get dehydrated, acidosis, you'll lose your appetite, you'll get nauseated. In other words, these are the symptoms of sickness. You will become sick in the short term. In the long term, these kinds of diets that promote meat and dairy products and not enough plant foods, these diets result in heart disease, strokes, cancer, kidney failure, kidney stones, osteoporosis, and a whole slew of problems that are common to your friends and neighbors. But anything just to lose a few pounds. People are so desperate. And you know, I believe most people who go on these diets, they know this.
Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a walk. Savannah. Lion's gonna come. The birds have just begun. We will always take a stand for the people, for the land. Let's go back to when we were young. For the animals we stand.
Mandatory, so the patient doesn't really have a choice to use them. On our programs, the products are mandatory, so the patient doesn't really have a choice to use them, and that's good from a business perspective and also from a health perspective for the patient. I look forward to helping many more patients with their weight loss.
Robard, the bars, the shakes, that it's a simple solution to lose weight fast.
So I'll take a walk. Savannah.
I like not eating meat. Go vegan.
I gotta go vegan. I gotta go vegan. Hang on, is this a new Stevie Wonder classic? Go vegan. Go vegan.